Hello and welcome to this week's live weekly warm-up. This week I have a really fun exercise that's sort of a technique exercise. I'm definitely putting it in the technique category, even though it actually sounds more like a long tone exercise. But the reason why it's a technique exercise is because we're really focusing on our finger motion. So that's what makes it all about the technique, because of course those technique warm-ups are where we get our finger motion going really well. It also definitely isn't a long tone exercise because we're not really going to care so much about what we sound like, which I know sounds crazy because we always want to have a great sound and always want to be sounding really great. But actually in this exercise, what we're doing with our fingers is sort of going to force us to not have a good sound, which I'll explain when we get there. So what is this exercise? I call this sort of slow motion fingers. And the purpose of this is to really figure out how to play tension-free and effortlessly. When you watch professional players, they're always going so crazy with their fingers and just doing all of this crazy technical stuff, and it always looks so effortless and it's just amazing. And to be honest, the only way that they're able to play so fast and make it look effortless is that they really are pretty much effortless. There's a lot of effort that goes in the practice room and on the back end of figuring out how to do these things. But in the moment of a performance, if it's really going well and the notes are all coming out clearly and everything's really smooth and in control, like we always desire in our performance, then really there isn't all that much effort happening in the finger motions. And this exercise is going to be a great way to show you that. Another little bonus advantage of this exercise is if you get really comfortable with this tension-free slow motion finger motion that we're going to be talking about, then it might also help with pain and fatigue in your playing as well. A lot of people will squeeze the instrument just too hard, and that causes a lot of extra tension and can cause your hands to get really tired and fatigued and sore even and painful even if you do it for a long time. By perfecting this exercise and really implementing this kind of tension-free playing into your practice, hopefully it'll go a long way for preventing those use injuries like the carpal tunnel, tendonitis, any pain that you may have from arthritis or things like that. I can't guarantee that this will cause pain-free playing forever. You should still definitely take breaks, rest, don't practice so much that it hurts. There's so much music that you can enjoy and practice just by listening. So definitely don't overwork yourself and don't keep playing if it hurts. But this exercise will hopefully help you to go a little bit longer and be a little bit more relaxed when you play. So what we're going to do is we're going to take a G major scale. You can do this on any scale really, but I really like it on G major because we start with no fingers down. And what we're going to do is we're going to start on the open G, and then we're going to go down the scale. But what we're going to do is actually move all of our fingers in slow motion. So we're going to hear a little bit of almost like a gliss in between each note as we slowly put each finger down and almost have like a moment where it's sort of half hold and kind of fuzzy. And then once the clear note is coming out, we're not going to press down anymore with that finger. And then we're going to go on to moving the next finger slowly down, and then the next finger and the next finger, making sure that all of the fingers that we already put down aren't continuing to squeeze any harder. Once it's down and covering the hole and getting the clear sound out, then we're not going to put any more pressure at all. So this will probably feel really weird and almost like you're barely touching the instrument or barely covering the holes, and that's exactly the point. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of stand up so you can see my fingers really clearly, because it's important to see the actual finger motion in this one, and I'm going to demonstrate this exercise. And like I said, this is one where we don't care about the sound at all, actually. I even had some squeaks in there, and sometimes where even between like every single note, it's really fuzzy and really unclear. And that's totally okay. Those squeaks were because the holes weren't completely covered, or probably even more likely where maybe I didn't have enough pressure on here, so like this pad was leaking a little bit because this ring wasn't totally covered. So that's actually almost a good sign if you're getting squeaks on this exercise, because it means you are being super light and super relaxed with your finger motion, which is excellent. So that's going the way down, and you can see if you're able to play like that with such light pressure, then that really shows you how little pressure you need to be covering the keys and putting on the clarinet. It'll probably be way less pressure than you're used to putting on the keys when you do this exercise. And I think it might be a little bit interesting to see how much less pressure it is. This is very similar to the tongue tickles exercises that we actually went over last week to see how little pressure you need to put on the reed with your tongue. It's the same idea of very little pressure is needed to actually cover these holes and play these notes. And just like the tongue tickles exercise, I've always done this exercise going down, but last week I sort of learned about the reverse tongue tickles where you pull the tongue off the reed slowly, and I think the same exact thing would work for this exercise. So let's try it again. I'm going to start down on the low G and just slowly lift up my fingers, and the purpose of this is going to be to see how little distance away from the key we need to actually get to the clear sound. So it's going to be the same idea. We're starting on the low G, super slow finger motion. And then once the sound is coming out clearly, I'm not going to move my fingers up anymore. And let's see how close I can keep those fingers to the key. So you can probably almost could barely even tell that my fingers were moving on the video. And really I was going from like about there to there. So it was a very, very small distance. Actually, even by the end, I was still almost like resting these fingers on these keys. Now, I'm not saying that we want to necessarily rest our fingers on these keys especially, but it is a great exercise to practice scales with always keeping your pinkies in contact with these keys. These keys, like touching here, won't interrupt the sound at all as long as you aren't pushing the actual pads down there. These keys, if your fingers are on the rings, it may interrupt the sound and cause some fuzziness. So we do need to get at least a little bit off, but you can see with this exercise how very little off it actually needs to get. So I hope this has been helpful to sort of see how little pressure we need to squeeze down and how little distance we need to come off. And that will help you to play those really fast passages that require really good finger technique, where you have those super, super fast fingers and all of those crazy fast 16th notes and fast note passages. Don't freak out on them. Go slow. Really play your rhythms and all the fast notes rhythmically. You can look up my video, Fast Note Freak Out, on YouTube if you want more information about that. But anyways, thanks so much for watching this live weekly warm-up. I really hope that this exercise is helpful for you to sort of get that relaxed and tension-free finger motion. Tell me how it goes for you in the comments below. Feel free to ask any questions you have about this exercise in the comments, even if you aren't watching this live, if you're catching the replay later. I love interacting with you guys in the comments, hearing your questions, hearing what's working for you and what's not working for you. And if you think this exercise would be helpful for other people, feel free to share it with them as well. I love getting this information out to as many people as I can and just being able to be a resource in the clarinet community to help all of you with your clarinet journey and fulfilling your clarinet dreams. So good luck with this tension-free playing. Implement this exercise into your warm-up routine this week, and I'll be back next week with another exercise for you. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you later.